and I would be like at different b-boys practices and such, and I would like really like check it out. But I just thought, girls didn't do it, so because I ain't see no girls do it,
Right.
but women don't ever think that. Young girls don't ever think that just because, you don't see any girls do it, that doesn't mean you could do it,
Right. Salute to the subscribers, those that live beyond the cipher. We are here, episode 14, and we have the rare, what do I want to say, privilege of speaking to a young lady who, if we named all of her accolades, would take longer than the interview itself. So we just gonna say, what's up, Bgirl Macca? How you doing?
What's going on?
Chilling. Just Now, Miss Macca, you are only the second female to come on our show, and the first American female, so it is a privilege to have you. And as always, I like to start where you start, right? So, where do you get into hip hop? And when I say get into, I know, I see it as an African American culture, so we don't necessarily get into it, but we do get exposed to it, and it becomes a part of our life more closely than just African American culture. So when does that happen for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, why am I only the second female on your show?
That is a great question. Exactly. But here's the thing. You can't blame me. Let's turn this to these females that I have reached out to that have not yet gotten back to me. So,
see? Okay.
Yes.
Come on, ladies. Come on. You got to do better now. So
you heard it.
I understand how that is.
No doubt.
But no. How did I get exposed to hip hop, or how did hip hop get exposed to me? Because it is an African American thing, right? But I would definitely say, my family, so like we say, it is an African American thing, so it just was within my family, as me being a youngster, so but more specifically, I would say it was so open within my family because I have a very artistic family, so my mother, she's a writer, she's an artist, and she did specifically when I was coming up, she was heavily focused on jazz poetry and such. And my stepdad at the time, he's a saxophonist, so just the open way for music to come into my space, was just open. So, but more specifically than that, when I was young, my older brothers, I have two older brothers, and they were MCs, when I was coming up. And my oldest brother, he's still an MC, but they were MCs, and he would also organize hip hop events. And this was when I was growing up in Germany. So was born in the US, but grew up in Germany as well. So so when I was growing up in Germany, he had a whole company that actually focused on organizing hip hop events. So not just breaking events, right, how we know it now, but full on hip hop events, so, and it had all of the elements involved. So I was just this like little young girl that was able to handle like the cash register, because it was a whole family,
Right.
I would be there helping, and all of us would be involved, so so I was just able to experience hip hop culture in its essence, and be able to just soak it all in, right then and there. And when he started doing the events, I was like 11 years old or so, so that's when I just was starting to really take it all in for what it was. So
no doubt.
But yeah, that was my full-on introductory into the organized hip-hop culture, so so where it's like all elements and such, and it's this event that's really happening, but hip hop in its essence, was just growing up yeah, within my family.
Now tell me if you identify with this as an African American like myself. So the culture of your parents when they're having their gatherings, bringing you in and be like, go and show that little dance that y'all be doing, and then you got to get out there and you just. Well, for me, I'm probably a little bit older than you. It was like I'm out there doing the running man, and you know what I'm saying.
Yo, you know, I'm gonna be glad. Like I was so shy, so extremely shy. You know, so when I was young, you know, so like I would so in Germany because it's I mean, you know, you have Black Americans there, but it's a lot of Black, like Africans there, you know? So there's a lot of African culture, you know, that you experience out there. So, so my mom will always, because my mom has always been also an activist, you know? So she would organize a lot of activist gatherings as well, you know, and be involved in all of that over there. So I was like, she would always take us, you know, in my mind as a kid, I'll be like, oh, she's dragging us to another like cultural event. Oh my God. You know? Right. You know, I'm a kid, and in my mind, I'm like, Dad, I just want to have a normal child. Crap, you know, stupid. Right. But as a kid, you just like, oh my gosh, you know, so that's more so what I dealt with, you know. It's like being in all these cultural events and, you know, my mom just like bringing us and, you know, us having to talk to people and, you know, and like she'll have us in like African dance classes and such, you know, and like, you know, have us show like little moves and such. But I was so shy, yo. I was so shy.
Wow.
Like, no, I don't want to do it. I want to do it. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that's definitely a Black experience, you know, so.
No doubt. Have you ever revisited that with your mom? Like, remember how I was so shy? Now I'm breaking in front of the world.
My mom would talk about it all the time.
No doubt. That is.
Oh my gosh, you were so. Sorry.
No problem.
You were so, you know, you were so shy, and I look at you now, you know.
Right.
So, but I always danced, you know, like ever since I was young, I would just always dance and like, you know, hear the music and want to move, you know. So, but that shyness when it was like when other people were around me was still always there.
No doubt. And so, when do you fast forward and you start to get into the actual breaking?
Yeah. So for me, so at the same time, like when I was really young, when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, my older brothers, they break too. You know, they used to break too. So and we were in Berlin, Germany at that time, you know. Wow. So I would see them do it, but you know, I was really young, so I couldn't really fathom or understand what was really going on, you know. So well, not like, you know, 4-year-olds now that are just like lazy everybody, you know?
Right. They know everything.
You know, like dang on it. But yeah, so when my brother started then hosting or organizing the actual hip hop events, he will have, you know, b-boys come out and do their thing as well. So, yeah, I just started getting really fascinated, you know, like cause I always loved to dance, you know, right. So, just seeing them get down and such, and I didn't see any girls do it at that time, you know, it was just a whole bunch of boys that were getting down. So, yeah, so since we were all like, I was like, I think 13 at this point, you know, and things go faster in Germany anyway. You're like an adult at 18 and you start like, it's just everything's just faster. So,
right.
But so I was in clubs and all that stuff, you know, and we would just like friendships would grow and such. And I would be like at different b-boys practices and such. And I would like really like check it out. But I just thought, you know, girls didn't do it, you know, so because I ain't seen no girls do it, you know, right. Like, but women don't ever think that. Young girls don't ever think that just because, you know, you don't see any girls do it, that doesn't mean you could do it, you know? Right. But for me, it was just a different time then, you know? So I just was like, oh, I guess we don't do it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so but that was my first like really experience of being like seeing in practices and seeing how, you know, how breakers like really, you know, own their craft, you know. So but when we moved back to the States in 2004 or 2003, sorry, I had already graduated high school, you know, at that time, and college I was done with school. I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't do anymore. Like, woof,
Right.
I just couldn't.
That's funny.
So I was trying to figure out what to do, and I wanted to dance, you know, and we were in my grandma's, who was like at that time a little bit outside of Philly, like in a suburb outside of Philly. And I was like taking like hip hop classes, dance classes, but it was horrible. It was horrible. It was not hip hop, you know?
Right. Was it the I usually judge it by the amount of bandanas and wristbands you see in the class.
Exactly.
No doubt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to Video Jug. My name's Faith, and I'm going to be teaching you how to break dance. Okay, so with breakdance, we've got 3 different sections. To start with, you've got your footwork, which is anything stood up. Secondly, you've got your floor work, which is stuff on the floor, like more acrobatic. And thirdly, you've got your freeze right at the end. Okay, so today I'm going to show you some footwork. What we're going to do is we're going to take the action of forwards and backwards rocking motion. So we've got the front foot crossing in front, you rock back onto your back foot and step out to the side. Let's try it to the other side. Rock forward, take it back and step to the side. Okay, let's try that again.
But then we finally like moved into the city, into Philly, and I was just trying to figure out what to do. And I was 16. Yeah, I was 16 at that time, and I was like, damn, I really want to dance. And then I was looking through a newspaper. I just remember looking through a newspaper and seeing this ad in there, breaking class, you know, like breaking workshop, something, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what? It was so random. It was so random. Right. I saw it in there, and I was like, Ma, like I want to go, you know, take the class. And and yeah, and I just took the breaking class with Amani in Philadelphia at Susan Hess Dance Studio. I remember that. And yeah, and it started from there. Yeah.
Wow. And would you say, though you started breaking, you know, you're a little bit older and you're back in the States, did any of those German experiences play into your style as you start to develop, like those memories of those practices and those b-boys and what they were doing? You
know what? I will honestly say no.
No? Okay.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't. I think like because it's funny when I look and not to diss anybody, but like when I look back on it,
about to start dissing.
when you look back, and you know, when you first start breaking, you think like everybody's so dope, and you know, like, oh man, this person is so ill, they're so dope, they're so this, you know. But then when you start to really comprehend and understand, you know, what's good and what's not, you're like
they were whack. No, I have a similar story because my first like face-to-face experience with people who could at least consider themselves b-boys is when I was actually in the military myself as well, and we were in Myrtle Beach, and I remember we were in this club, and my friends got into this breaking battle against this guy that was from Myrtle Beach, and I thought it was the most amazing thing that I had ever seen in my life, and I was just like, oh snap, I have to do this, right? But then fast forward a couple years and you've been doing it for a while and you start getting exposed to like the real b-boys. You're like, them dudes are whack, but they serve the purpose.
Yes,
right. Absolutely. They serve a purpose to create a lifelong b-boy, you know what I'm saying? So but anyway.
They got you excited, man. That's
exactly.
So, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, for me, that's why I say I'm not you know, trying to diss nobody, because like yeah, at that time it got me excited, you know, seeing them get down, seeing them spin on their heads, you know, seeing them do what they did. So and they inspired me in that sense to like, yo, I want to do this, but damn, you know, girls do it, but this is so dope, you know. So it definitely served their purpose for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have a question for you, and it really just randomly popped in my head, and we're gonna, you know, just roll with me, right?
Right.
So you hear somebody say you break like a girl. Mm-hmm. First off, what do you think they mean, and what is your response?
You know, the funny thing is, they're trying to give me a compliment.
Okay. Okay.
When they're for me, right? Mm-hmm, so I mean, I think if they're saying it to a dude, it's not a compliment, right? But,
definitely not.
You know, which is crazy, but whatever. But right. So when they're saying it to me, they're trying to give me a compliment and be like, yo, you break like a girl. You're not breaking like a dude. Like, you know, so many girls, B-girls, they look like dudes. They look like guys. They, you know, all that stuff, right? So, but you, Macca, you break like a girl.
And that is exactly what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. Because okay, so first off, the first time I saw you, it felt like you just came out of nowhere. Right? I'm sure you didn't. You just came into my, you know, knowledge out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. But that was one of the first things I thought. I was like, she actually breaks like a girl. And what I meant was, like, you bring your feminine energy to the dance, which is dope. That doesn't mean like, and like instantly I wasn't thinking like, oh, you know, she breaks all like weaker and all that stuff like that, because that's not really what breaks like a girl even means. Mm-hmm. What I meant was, you know, she's not out here trying to be, you know, a dude.
Yeah.
And that I think is important. How important do you think it is for like women and girls that participate in this dance to not feel any pressure to like kind of adopt a masculine male energy, but be comfortable being a female and still pushing their physical limits as far as being dope with the moves?
Right. So here's it. And it's so funny because I just had this conversation like a few days ago, you know.
No doubt.
With somebody, because he's like, yeah, you know, trying to give me a compliment, you know. but the thing that I always want to make clear, there's no one way to be a woman, right? There's no one way to have female energy, you know. So I think it's just the way that I choose is more of an acceptable way for people to look at female energy, you know. And in a way that people are comfortable with, you know, to look at female energy, you know, they're used to it, you know. So like and I will also say this, you know, for how I was coming up with in breaking, there was also a lot of trauma that I would deal with of having to constantly be told like, break like a girl, you know what I mean? Bring this woman, like you, like I need to do that, you know what I mean? So so I had to come out of that actually, you know, so because that's something that I also still fight with, you know. Okay. But at the same time, the way I break is obviously the way I break, you know, and the way the femininity energy that I bring is my personal feminine energy, right? No, but I want B-girls or, you know, girls that come within breaking to understand that my feminine energy is not the only way, you know what I mean? We all have our own feminine energy that we can bring to breaking, you know? So it's and even for men, but that's a whole different conversation that people don't understand, that for like with as women and men, we all have feminine and masculine energy, you know what I mean? So that's for everybody, you know. So but again it's for me, it's important for B-girls to understand it's not just one way. So there are some B-girls that feel more comfortable moving a certain way that's perceived as more masculine or whatever, you know. There are women within breaking that feel more comfortable with wearing bigger clothes, because that's the whole thing as well. People, you know, will be like, oh, B-girl, she's trying to look like a dude, you know, because she's wearing baggier clothes or, you know, looser clothing, you know. So, but which also intermingles with the fact of feeling safe and secure because of other issues that are within breaking, and guys, you know, saying things when you wear tighter clothing, when you know, like it's
Miss Macca, are you trying to go beyond the cipher early? You
I mean,
getting
it? I know, because it's all so connected. Oh my god! Like, I'm sorry, we don't have to go be. I don't.
Yeah, no, we gonna go there, but we just, you know,
right. But I guess the point I'm trying to make, that it's also connected, you know. So it's not just like feminine energy and that's it, you know.
No doubt.
So it's just it's very layered, you know. So and for me, like when you ask me, I have to speak on the different layers, you know, because it's not just one way, you know. So but yeah, so I definitely think, you know, I mean, there are women that feel more comfortable with their masculine aspect, you know, energy within them, you know. So that doesn't diminish the way they move, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean, oh, they're not being B-girls. They are B-girls, period, you know. So I just choose in the way I move to bring my specific feminine energy, you know, because I'm a little sassy. I'm a little, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I choose to bring, you know. So I think it's very important to let women bring whatever they want to bring to it, you know. So, yeah.
And when you lay it out like that, I guess, and I think you touched on it while you were speaking, but I guess it goes the same for guys, right? All male energy ain't the same. Like me,
right.
When I'm breaking, you know, I'm pointing gun, I'm doing all kind of stuff that is Chris energy, you know what I'm saying? And every guy doesn't have to do that to be considered like a male or something, you know what I'm saying? Right. Or like, no, I feel you. Yeah. I do. So, so early 2000s, you're getting into breaking, right? What is the Philly scene like at that time?
Oh man. I think it's definitely not what it is now, but I think like,
wait, not what it is now, like it's improved, or not what it is now, like it's declined since then?
Oh, it's, you know, my first instinct will probably be like, it's declined since then. But, you know, every generation has its own, you know, experience, you know what I mean?
Ebbs and flow, yeah.
Yeah, but, so I would probably definitely be, for me in general, I'm happy the generation that I came up in, you know? Besides whatever personal experience, you know, but like just looking at, you know, just the quality of it, you know, like that's, I'm glad I came out of that, because I break the way I break because I came out of that generation, you know.
Wow.
So but yeah, I mean, it was just I think it was just like, even overall, like in terms of breaking period, you know, it's that early 2000, like I started breaking in 2004, you know, so it's like that generation that's right before YouTube, you know, but like still has some of that rawness from what was going on before, you know. So but it's kind of transitioning into the, you know, internet YouTube generation.
You caught the tail end of that regional style era.
Exactly.
No doubt. Where you can be like, oh, she's from Philly, or she's from Florida, or she's from Cali, something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, catching that tail end of all of that, you know. So so that's why I feel like, yeah, I'm appreciative, you know, coming out of that time, you know, but also appreciative coming out of that time in terms of, you know, like having that specific style, you know, knowing where somebody's coming from, like, oh yeah, they from New York, they from whatever, you know. So, but also being appreciative of not being stuck in that that era, you know. Like, I think a lot of people get stuck in that era, you know,
and they've gotten left behind.
Yeah, you know, and just look at it one way, you know, like in that specific way. So So I do think I'm grateful in terms of coming out at a time where we were moving into the new era of it, of like, you know, being at competitions and being able to see it online and be able to, you know, all of that stuff. There's moving to that era of accessibility, if you want to say. But the reason why we were so appreciative still is because we caught the tail end of, you know, that raw type of era, you know. So it's not like, I feel like the generation that moved forward, you know, is not as appreciated because they're in that quick accessibility, you know, space. So but Philly, so Philly was during that time that I was coming up was, you know, like it was so much going on still in the scene in terms of crews and in terms of, you know, citywide battles and like beef and all that stuff, you know. You still like all that regional stuff, you know.
Right so you guys, you know, your rival would have been like New York or something, right?
Yeah, New York, or even still within the city, you know what I mean? Like,
wow, okay, there you go.
You know, issues within the city, you know. So but yeah, it would have been New York was probably the main ones, you know. So a little bit of New Jersey maybe here, like, you know, but New York was like, yeah, the main one. But yeah, so it was still getting a taste of all of that, you know. So yeah, and just the soulfulness of Philly and just the different crews that were there, and just just the energy. I came up in that energy of putting the city on a map, you know, like just working, going to different cities, putting in that work, you know. So,
right.
Yeah, so that's what it was like.
No doubt. So what crews were you, or crew were you initially in?
Yeah, so initially my first crew that I was in was in Soul Flave. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but you know, like Steve Believe and right. So like it was like Steve Believe and Kurt and no, okay, I was thinking Hannibal was in there for a second, but no, not. But like Joe Sun, and it was a mixture of people, you know, that were in it. Then I moved on. Well, it kind of disbanded, you know. So then we had this thing called Real Philadelphia. So we had that for a hot minute, and that had some members that I was in within Soul Flave in there too. And and Hannibal was in that as well. And then I that kind of like just moved on, whatever. And then we went to 360 Gun Battalion. which became 360 Flavor later. So, but it started out as 360 Gun Battalion, and then that, yeah, some of the main ones that you probably know is Hannibal. Then it had Mighty Mouse in there.
Who actually, up into, I don't know if he still does, lives out here.
Right. Because you're on the West Coast, right?
I'm in Arizona.
Arizona, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's where he lives, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, last time I saw him, that's where he lived.
I think so. I think he's still out there.
No doubt.
Yeah, with his lady and his kids. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Yeah, so those were like in terms of crews, you know, and officially being part of the crews, those were the ones that I was in. Mm-hmm.
No doubt. And then, you know, fast forward, and it's probably, I don't know, you could tell tell us if it's a big fast forward or, you know, a short fast forward. Now you're repping Monster. Got it on you on the chest, like no doubt. So my question, my first question about Monster is how did you get down with the Monster team? Because there's so many you know, different urban tales of what's going on with the Monster team, how you get in, what happens once you get in. So, you know,
I want to know the urban tales.
They speaking on it like it's like a gang, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all out here, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm in you know? But we'll start with, like, first off, how did you get recognized by the brand and then get on the team?
Yeah. Secret society, you know. So had to go all the hoops. No. But honestly, actually, so in 2017, I believe it was 2017, I had went to Bgirl City in Texas, in Houston, Texas, you know, so.
We stay rocking it like B-girls, right? We stay rocking it like B-girls. And that's how it forever will be. You see, girl, because we a special kind of breed, girls. In the city, we stay getting busy. We put our names on the map, while some of y'all men still acting filthy, right? Y'all stay disrespecting the equality we fight for. But hold up, you can pull my chair out at the dinner table, shoot. You girls ain't spiteful, more like delightful, exactly. When we coming together, we working together in the city, it's pretty powerful. Once you realize, you open your eyes, and you can see, it can all be so simple.
So I was there for, that was like maybe the third time, or I think I was there, you know, so I was out there, and so they had a Bonnie and Clyde, right? They had a Bonnie and Clyde out there for that event. Everybody needs to go to Bgirl City, support them always, baby girl. But so they had a Bonnie and Clyde out there, and I was trying to figure out who I can do it with, you know, because I was like, oh man, I want to win this bad boy. so I had initially hit up Lil Jon, you know, because he's out in Texas, and I had hit him up, and he was like, yeah, let's do it, but he didn't realize that it coincided with his wedding anniversary. So
oh wow.
So he was like, dang, I can't do it, Macca, sorry, blah blah. So I was like, dang, who can I hit up? You know, I was trying to think of some people in Houston and Texas, you know, because because down there, and at the time my crewmates were not able to fly out there, you know, to do it. So I hit up Moy. I was like, yo, Moy, you know, I was trying to see if you were, you know, down to do it, if you're going to be in the city for that. And he was like, I'm down, you know, and he's like, let's keep going a low. Surprise people, you know.
Right.
I was like, all right, I'm down, let's do that, you know.
No doubt.
Yeah, so I went there, and we were only able to do the qualifying round because he messed up his leg really bad during during the round, because he had an injury. And he was coming off of it, and he was still like, you know, he'll do it, you know, but he messed up his leg like really bad during the qualifying round. So, but like before we got down, he was like, yeah, so just ask me questions, you know, like, yeah, so what you been up to, you know, what are you doing? What are you trying to do, you know, with breaking? What are your goals, Bazzi? Like all this stuff. And I'm like, okay.
Right. The interview, right? It was the interview.
Yeah, he's like, so. But I'm just like, oh, okay, you know, so I'm just talking, yapping. And,
no doubt.
And he's like, yeah, so, because I'm going to be honest with you, like, I've been talking to Monster, and I've been telling them we need a B-girl, you know? And I've been telling them that you are my first choice, you know, for B-girl.
Oh, wow.
You know? And I was like, oh, word? Okay. But, and I told more, because I was like, okay, you know, because people talk all the time, you know.
I'm about to say, was it a disbelief? Okay,
yeah,
like, yeah, all right.
It was just, you know, it's just like, okay, we'll see, you know. Like, but he was like, yeah, you know, like I told him, like, my first choice absolutely has to be Macca, you know. So he was like, after we competed, he's like, I'm gonna get back to you on this, you know, so to let you know. And I'm just like, all right, sure, whatever. Like that's like totally that attitude, like sure, whatever.
Right.
And he started cracking up when I told him that, you know, because I was just like, man, b-boys, y'all talk all the time. So I ain't gonna believe it. But sure enough, like it's like I think it was a few months, like a half a year later, you know, he hit me up and he was like, so, you know, this is what it is, X, Y, and Z, blah, that. So he just laid it out, you know, and he's like, are you still down to be part of the team? And I just, you know, I just went over the information and did, you know, my part on my end to, you know, to look into what he's offering. And then I decided for myself, yeah, I'm a do it. So I let him know, yeah, I'm definitely down to do it. And then it took another, I feel like almost half a year for it to actually fully go through. So, so like, you know, I like when people ask, you know, like behind the scenes, like it took like almost a year, I feel like, you know, for it to actually really go through and happen. And for me to actually sign the contract. And then we still had it on the low for a little bit longer, you know, before we actually announced me being part of Monster.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an ill story. So now, you know, we're going into this Olympic era. We actually have, well, by the time this comes out, it would have been out because it starts on Monday. We're doing a series called Black Culture as Sport, where we're talking about, we're asking questions because, a lot of people are talking about it, but, I don't think they're really taking a journalistic approach. They're just like, oh, who's going to be on it? Who's going to win? And like, we're looking at, is it Black culture? What does that mean? If it becomes a sport, what are going to be the protections, so on and so forth? We're not really talking about wins and losses and who's going to be on the team. But with a monster, with we'll just call them those other guys that also have a team, that means that people are going to be striving to reach these heights, right? There's some B-girl that's looking at Macca right now is like, I want to be on the team too. Mm-hmm. So if these young B-boys and B-girls are pursuing, these positions, then it's in their best interest to know what it means to be in these positions that you guys are currently in. So what is like, what is the compensation for being on the monster team? Like, do you guys, are they just like, here goes $1 million? Are they, do they cover your expenses to events? Like, can you make a living doing this? How does that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to get in details in terms of how much people make, but yeah, I mean, I absolutely believe we're still in a stage probably where, many of these companies, and I think the good thing about the Olympics is we'll further advance in a stage where we can set more of what we want, when we have those eyes, on us. So, but I think, so like for me and my generation, probably it's still more so what they will offer us, so, right. So that's been my experience, but in the end, it's always you decide if you want to accept it or not. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, with my experience, and again, I can't get into detail, but I get compensated, monetarily. I'm able to travel with the sponsorship of Monster, so nice. To be able to go to different events where I haven't had to pay for myself, so they compensate us besides besides a monthly monetary allowance that is said, but they also sponsor us to be able to go to different events that we are wanting to go to, so nice. And then, other things that come with that as well. So, but again, I think we'll be able to move into that space, of once we're being really looked at as athletes, right? Where we are able to speak more on what we want per se, mm-hmm. And be able to demand that. But with this thing, I think it's very crucial to understand that it takes time in showing these companies, what your worth is,
no doubt,
why you deserve to get paid this amount, or why, like it's, mm-hmm. But that's what anything, period, so it's, that's just the name of the game when you're dealing with companies like that, right. And that's just not as being a B-girl or a B-boy, that's, whatever, if I'm a skater, if I'm a this, if I'm a that, so, and in certain sports per se, since we're moving into that sport space, have a longer track record than we do, so, but again, I do think this will open it up for way more sponsorships and such. And what I'm really excited about is like looking at, studies on physical therapy and all that stuff that comes with it, for our well-being, so yeah, that's really what I'm looking at, but but and again, I say, as you know, as more B-girls come onto Monster Energy or whatever, you know, sponsorship there is, you know, you're going to be able to get into that space more with each generation, you know, making that sacrifice and making that, you know, making it possible for us to, you know, demand more of what we want, you know, so yeah.
No doubt. And like, okay, so with jams kind of going to the like face-to-face jams on a huge decline and like just you know, not even what they were, has Monster been able to, you know, adjust to the new times as far as, you know, allowing you guys to be expressive of your art and, you know, be participants in, we'll call it the sport?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's not, I mean, we've, one thing for me, with my experience with Monster, I've always been able to do whatever I want, you know? So I had never had to censor myself. I never had to, you know, like try to figure out how to like, you know, move specifically in terms of what I want to do, you know? I've always had that freedom, you know, to do what I want to do. In terms of like these times, I mean, they're new times, you know, they're new and different times, and you know, we're trying to figure out what is the best way to go about you know, adjusting to this time, of course, you know. So I mean, but even, you know, before the pandemic, things were changing with specific events and how Monster's involvement was, you know, with specific events and such. So but so I think like, right. So I definitely think we're still in a stage of figuring things out. But like, for example, with Break Free, you know, so there has been a lot of support that was put into Break Free and Break Free's competitions that they were doing online, you know. Right. So that's another way of the adaptation that happened, you know, with Monster and online competitions and such, you know. So. Okay. And still the fact, still that we're still, that we still have our sponsorships as well during these times, you know, where there's really, where there's really, quote, like not much to do per se, you know, like with traveling, with, you know, all of that. So, but yeah, so I think one of the major adjustments was like really putting the focus on the Break Free championships that were happening, the Break Free awards that are happening soon, like just different ideas like that, you know. So those have been really like the adaptations.
No doubt. And like one more thing about the concept of the Monster team. So every B-boy on the Monster team, from my knowledge, was also at one point in time, if not still, part of a crew consisting of people that they actually came up with. So what would you say is the major difference between breaking with the people that you came up with versus breaking with the people on a sponsored team?
To be honest, for me, it honestly feels like breaking with a crew that I came up with, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the tightness is really special. Like and from what I experienced, you know, is really special and really tight, you know. I even heard it was even tighter before, you know, but because it was a bunch of boys in there. I come and I, you know, clean up shop, but but you know, but yeah, like it's just it honestly feels really, really close to me. I mean, the difference may be that like we're not all in one city, you know, so we're not around each other like all the time, you know, so we're around each other when we either have to compete, you know, or, you know, train with each other like for a competition or so, you know, but on a regular basis, we're not really around each other, you know, so but that's the biggest difference, I would say, you know, compared to a crew that's I mean, you know, crew can have members that are all over the world, you know, that's clear, but generally, if you have a crew that's like in the same city with you, you know, and you're around each other all the time, this is a team with worldwide members, you know, but we adjust, you know, by having, you know, like, you know, group messaging and all that stuff, you know, like the interwebs help with that, you know, so
no doubt.
but for me, it's one of the, I feel like tightest and healthiest teams I've been in, crews I've been in. I feel like it's a crew, honestly, you know, so.
No different from a crew that you came up with in Philly, right?
No, well, you know, I would say it's
minus accents.
Minus accents, you know. But you know, I would say maybe another thing that is different is that because it's also very business minded, you know. So you have almost everybody on a team, not almost everybody, but everybody on a team that understands this is also business as well. So let's push that, you know, let's represent ourselves that way. Let's, you know, like, so you have that compared to a crew where it's more, where it can also be more like, whatever, you know, like we just, you know what I mean?
No doubt. No doubt. And so, and me, I fall on the like breaking as a sport side of the fence. If I had to say, I do believe it's a culture. I do believe it's Black culture that's now shared by everybody. But I have always thought that there's at some point there's going to be a splitting, just like the same thing that happened with skateboarding. There's a split. There's the skateboarders that didn't want it to leave the streets, and then there's the skateboarders that are on ESPN. And you know, because you know, back in the day when we were doing the NBL, and I never knew you were in the NBL, like that you participated in that. I was going through some old videos, and I was like,
you're only working on one speaker right now, so make it happen. Bgirl Macca, what you got? Let's go. Give us some energy, y'all. Yeah. Time's that joint too.
There goes that girl Macca.
Yeah,
I was
right.
Like, I didn't even know she was in this. But so, you know, even way back then, we were looking at it as a sport. And the reason I asked that question about, you know, your crew versus your team is because we would have those conversations. We would be like, you know, at some point, if we keep doing this, your whole crew's not going to be able to be on a team. Yeah. You know, when a monster comes in, they're not going to say we need the whole 360 flavor. They're going to we need Macca. We'll take a little bit of Hannibal, and the rest of you guys, you know, keep training, you know, not to diss any of them, but just saying, you know, so I always wondered that, like when that point came, if there was going to be a smooth transition from the guys I grew up with to an all-star team. But that's cool. That's cool to hear. Now, I do have one knock against Monster, and I would not be a journalist if I didn't say it. So Monster did have a lawsuit against them, and the lawsuit was because out of all of the like upper level people on the corporate side, not the team itself, but like in the corporate offices of Monster, there was not a single African American person represented. How, like, if you will, how does that make you feel? Or like, what's your response to that?
Yeah. No comment on the lawsuit.
No doubt.
but in terms of just the idea of the reality that we live in, of still having to struggle with representation in, you know, decision-making rooms, you know, that's a reality, you know, so that's a reality And I think probably 99%, okay, I can't give numbers because, I may be incorrect,
More than we like. More than we would like to see.
More than we like, but within large numbers of corporations and, organizations, period, so, so knowing that we still deal with that is something that still doesn't feel good for me, so.
Right.
I can't lie about that, knowing that that's still the issue, and
right.
And I think, obviously it's been an issue for a very, very, very long time, but it's obviously been more so on the forefront during this year, because
right.
everything is just more so on the forefront, and during this year, because
no
we
doubt.
have more time, right?
No
so
doubt. Like I said, I just wanted to ask because, Monster, they have like participating in breaking. That's a diverse thing to participate in. The team itself, when you look at the members on the team, there's diversity there. And I just thought that was interesting. So thanks for, sharing your opinion on that.
All right, Charles, so here's the deal. Breaking just became an Olympic sport and will be represented at the 2024 Paris Games. Rocksteady crew legend Crazy Legs, real name Richard Colin, was asked to be involved, but his future with the Olympics could be in jeopardy. On Wednesday, December 16th, a petition started circulating online claiming that the often celebrated breaker has a long history of sending photos of young women, essentially accusing Crazy Legs of sexually assault. Consequently, the people behind the petition, identified as bboy and bgirl, are pleading with the International Olympic Committee to take action.
Now, Miss Macca, in the last, as of this recording, within the last couple days, there's been a major fallout in the breaking community about Crazy Legs and some of the allegations against him from the bgirl community at large. And not to dogpile on him at all, this is not a Crazy Legs problem. This has been a breaking community problem. So when you hear such a prominent figure like a Crazy Legs and you hear these allegations and that he substantiated with his apologies, and then you you hear this, what are your first thoughts?
So my first thoughts are, sadly, of course, my first thoughts are, damn, just to be honest, right? Damn,
right.
Like in terms of him, but in terms of the breaking community, period, my first thoughts are, this is part of humanity. This is no different, from what goes on in a human experience, period, from what goes on in society. So I'm not shocked,
Right.
My first thoughts are, I'm not shocked, because men are part of the human race, right? And men are a part of society. I'm not going to just necessarily say just men, but toxic behavior is a part of humans, humanity in the society, period. And since we as humans participate in humanity in society as a whole, we as b-boys and b-girls participate in all that as a whole, we bring that to whatever subgroup we're in, to whatever subculture we're in. So
not to cut you off, but I have to jump in.
Yeah.
I am so happy that you said toxic behavior. I have been in many a debate on that toxic masculinity word. And I have always tried to say there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just a-hole behavior in humans. So when you say toxic behavior, that to me, that's saying the same thing I'm saying. And I appreciate you for that, but I'm sorry, my bad. Let me go back to being quiet.
Yes, but and that's the reality. So, and because it's, although within the breaking community, overwhelmingly that toxic behavior has been expressed by men within the community, you know, but it's still just toxic behavior, right? So it's not excluding anybody, women, whoever, like, you know, like we all can obviously, you know, express toxic behavior, you know, so, but in terms of this instance and the issue of this type of toxic behavior has been overwhelmingly, you know, perpetrated by men, you know, within the breaking community. So yeah, so in terms of that, that's why I say, you know, specifically within hip hop, you know, I have it specifically within the people that started hip hop, you know, and the kids that, you know, grew up within hip hop and, you know, in the late 60s, early 70s, right? Like, and knowing obviously what was going on then, and knowing, you know, and knowing that the spaces and energy that they were coming out of, in the toxic energy that they were coming out of, you know, it's only going to happen that gets, you know, recycled within this subculture that we're in, you know. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not just one person that's the problem, you know what I'm saying? That's not it, you know. To me, it's the root itself that's the problem, right? So it's and it's getting to that and understanding that we need to do something about that, you know. So that change needs to happen in terms of that, because if we're just focusing on one person, there's no change that's going to happen, you know. Just removing that one person is not the answer. It's not. We need to focus on the root, you know. So I believe it's so freaking layered, you know. It's so layered. It's so, I mean, if we talk about hip hop, I mean, if we want to, you know, if we want to talk about it, it's so layered within the music. It's so layered within, you know, and all these people, all these artists that we look up to, that we play on a regular, you know. It's so like, it becomes frustrating when you have to think about, like, okay, where do we start, really? And where do we...
Yeah, you know? Because, I mean, to your point, when you're talking about, like, major, let's just call them mainstream artists, right? Minus maybe, like the Kendrick Lamars, we'll put him off to the side, and, you know, a couple others in that vein. But the average rapper coming up, they've sold every drug. Yeah. More today, they've taken every drug. Yeah. Right? Exactly. They've slept with every female, and they've killed every other male on earth. So basically, they just by themselves on earth, because they've killed everybody, slept with everybody, so on and so forth. So yeah, and you know what they say, hurt people hurt people. So to your other point is that, you know, getting to the roots of these problems would be very much more, I guess, it'd be very much more helpful to get to the roots, because that is what's producing the fruit, not the fruit itself.
Yes. And also in a thing, because it took me, you know, a while to figure out also what to really say. And you know, I think people jump to wanting to say something and, you know, express, you know, their feelings and, you know, like be the doctor and be the expert and be the, you know, be all this, you know, and just like bash, you know. So for me, also representing myself and also, you know, knowing my own experiences as well. Also, being a part of, you know, so I'm also part of Guerrilla Tactics, you know.
No, ties to the wall. They went to the ties to the wall. No, ties to the wall. Thank you for this beautiful day here today, bringing our people here together from all directions, all colors, all backgrounds here. in a good way for a beautiful time, special occasion for this couple here and all their friends, family, extended family, that we can come here and share this day together, a beautiful day together, do things that we love to do, and ask you to bless all of our friends, family here, extended family, in their lives, in their journey.
I can take you anywhere, but can you take me home, a place where I belong and I can call my own, where I can get lost and get caught up in my zone.
You know, which focuses on, you know, the femme expression within hip hop, and, you know, and representation, and giving voices to women within and specifically Black and Indigenous people, you know, within hip hop as well. But, you know, I was talking to my sister, Ella Katrina, who I have Guerrilla Tactics with. And, you know, and we were just also talking about how, you know, the focus is so much on legs, you know, who you reap what you sow, of course, you know, and your karma is, you know, what you do, and your karma will always come up, you know? So, and, but the fact that, you know, people are so just focused on him, you know, it's just doesn't help us as a community, you know, because one, it's so much focus on him that people aren't the focus needs to be on the survivors as well, you know? So on, you know, the healing of the survivors, right? Mm-hmm. So the narrative right now is just letting, you know, him have so much shine, and, you know, and what does that make the, you know, survivors feel, you know, because they constantly have to, you know, see all this focus on him, right?
Right.
But so we were also looking at this this alternative that's this alternative approach that has been studied and that experts suggest compared to, you know, the traditional prison and, you know, like approach like that, you know, systematic approach like that, but which is also restorative justice, you know,
yeah,
right? Which focuses on the survivors, you know, and in the healing, and focuses on healing.
Restorative justice is being represented and feeling that there is a piece of you in the greater whole.
So if I had to describe restorative justice to someone who's never heard it before, the first instinct is to care for the person harmed, and then to ask what needs to happen to help them to heal.
If I could define restorative justice, I'd probably say an alternative to punitive measures where you're focusing on uplifting students and trying to keep them in the classroom instead of pushing them out.
A definition I really like is a relational approach to addressing conflict. And this is a way to deal with conflict when it arises, rooting it in personal relationships that matter.
Restorative justice is about community building. And if you've ever been in a restorative circle, you can feel the healing effect of it.
The main premise of the circle is that it equalizes people. Restorative justice is an open-hearted approach to dealing with problems where harm was created.
Right? So instead of just, you know, like, instead of just like, oh, okay, well, this is the perpetrator, this is his fault, like, or her fault or whatever, and send them to jail, and that's just it, right? But that's well, system-wise, that's a whole issue anyway, you know?
Yes,
so
yes, it is.
and that's a whole other conversation, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I think it's so important for us, and this is such a, even though these things have been going on for a very long time, right? But we're in a time, because of what's going on in society, period, but we're in a time where within breakin', we've never been at this point where, you know, where there's been so much focus on it, you know,
right.
and voices have been heard. And so we've never been in this specific time, but it's so necessary. It's so necessary, you know? Right. But I also hope that we really get to the root of it and we really implement approaches that will really focus on healing, that will really focus on having experts be a part of it, you know, and yeah, we figure that out, you know. We continue to have these conversations, you know, but I mean, toxic behavior is passed down, is normalized, is, you know, it's ingrained, you know, it's still happening while we're all talking about this. It's, you know, it's all still a constant, you know. So just because Legs is experiencing, or the focus is on him and everybody's saying he needs to X out, you know, get away, not represent anything that he was affiliated with, doesn't, you know, solve the problem. No. So, yeah.
And to your point as well, is like with so much focus being on Legs, you know, B-boy such and such who did something very similar is now like, whoo, thank you. He might even be posting like, yeah, man, Legs we need to get him up out of here.
Exactly. You know? Yes. So
it seemed like, you know, this really hit, you know, like they say, the ish hit the fan as soon as the article about, you know, I'm happy to be sitting at the table. Then it was like bang, 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 bang. Right now, it's easy to say, well, like, oh, they just hating, or, you know, well, why are they doing it with this timing? But in actuality, unless you've been through something like that, you probably don't realize how layered and how difficult that you know, coming out and speaking out would be. Do you have any like thoughts or advice that you would give to not just B-girls but just females, period, who go through these traumatic experiences, to where they can have the courage to step out, you know, instantly versus, you know, later?
I do not, because it is very layered. It really is, yo. It really is. It's not as, because every person is different, you know, like every person is different. Their experience is different. And it's, I can't even play around with that, you know, with giving that advice, you know what I mean? Because it's too layered. It's really too layered. And I can't speak for anybody else, you know, like everybody has their own time, you know, and it doesn't diminish diminish the person just because you're coming out at a later time, you know. It doesn't, I could say, like, you know, it's okay. It's going to be okay. We're going to believe you. We're going to, you know, like, you'll have support, you know, that doesn't, I feel like it's very superficial. Like, it's obviously we mean it, you know, we mean it, but still that, I don't think that's enough to encourage somebody to come out, you know, and at a sooner or faster time, or rather sooner than later, you know. I just think it's
in due time.
You know, if you want to come out, you know, and speak on it. But it doesn't mean you don't have any courage just because you're not going to come out. You know what I mean? It doesn't, that's not the case. But you do it at your time. You know what I mean? You do it at your time. That's all I can say. Do it at your time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. And what do you think is how do you grade the community's response to the situation? Because not so much on the like focusing on Legs part, because a lot of people did that. More like I didn't see, and of course I didn't see everything, but I didn't see a lot of disbelief. I didn't see a lot of, oh, she lying. You know what I'm saying? I saw a lot of what seemed like support, and, you know, people like, you know, I always got to give him a shout out. My guy, Rock Lobster, he is heavy on this for whatever reason. Well, probably because it's just the right thing to do, but he's very heavy on calling people out in the community that, you know, make these transgressions against people. Based on what you've seen, would you say that that we gave a mature, proper response, or would you say, what would you say?
So honestly, for the most part, absolutely, I have seen a lot of support. I have seen some people that were, saying some really immature things as well. So I mean, you always want to feel like, yeah, there could be better reaction. I've seen a lot of jokes and memes and such, which is like, I get it, memes are funny, but then at the same time, it's like, man, come on, y'all. This is really not a laughing matter. But that is society, period. That's not just like, oh, it's just happening in a breaking community. That anytime, somebody's canceled or whatever, the memes happen, So, and it's, it's hard not to laugh as well, because as humanity, one of the major ways we cope with pain is through laughter, So, so I understand that happens, but it's, for the most part, it's not a laughing matter, it's not a laughing matter because, so many people are affected by it, so, and that's the thing, like, I think that's another thing that I feel like, we should understand more as a community, is that there's so many moving parts within this, even though it's always, the focus needs to be that the people that are affected by it the most are the survivors, period, So that's always, that I think that always needs to be made clear, because you hear people in the community say, oh, I'm so tired of this. Oh, I'm so exhausted. And it's like, what the, how are you exhausted? This didn't even, like you are not a survivor of this, Right. You hear men say it, you're just like, whoa, If
you want to see exhausted, look at the people that it happens to. They're the ones who need to be exhausted.
But I do understand as a community, yes, this is kind of exhausting. I get it, but you need to chill out, you did not experience this, So I think that like, in terms of that response, that's something that, like, okay, we need to kind of work on, as a community. But also the response of the, coming to conclusions of, everybody that was involved with legs knew about it, like that's unrealistic as well, like It's not everybody that was in Rocksteady knew about it. You calm down, like it's I mean, there's levels. I'm pretty sure people knew that, legs like to talk to women, like I'm pretty sure people may have known like that aspect, but it's like you're saying, like, oh, all the women within Rocksteady knew about this, like that's come on,
that's kind of like because he's the second, I think the second like major hip hop pioneer to go to having, a situation like this after the Bambaataa situation. Right. And it's the same thing with the Bam situation. Mm-hmm. There were people that knew. Yeah. And they should be held accountable for withholding that knowledge. But to think that the whole Universal Zulu Nation knew what was going on in Bam's apartment and Bam's personal life. I mean, to anybody who thinks like that, most of us are in crews. Yeah. I don't know everything. I don't know what my crew's doing right now. I know I'm talking to Macca on this microphone. I have no idea what the rest of Outsiders crew is doing currently. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I feel your point.
And I mean, and that I mean, it's as clear as like when you hear about sociopaths or that have married to somebody for like 27 years and they had no clue. Right. So you can't just jump to a conclusion like that, So I think so a lot of that talk has been going on, within the community, and I think that's something that we need to cut back on, because in a situation like that where, you know, where one person is expressing toxic behavior, and you know, a lot of people it involves a lot of people, you know, family members and all, you know, like all these third party, you know, people like that, you know, that have to deal with this as well, you know. So even though the people that, you know, that the focus needs to be on in terms of, you know, healing such are the survivors, you know, but there's also third party collateral as well, you know, like that comes like with this type of situation, you know. So so I think it's important to, you know, keep that in mind going forward as well. But I mean, I don't even want to say going forward because it needs to end.
Right.
But, you know, but realistically, you know, human beings are human beings, you know. So,
No doubt.
you know, I just think we need to keep that in mind as well in terms of how we react to it as a community.
So 2 more questions. The first one, what is one thing that I would ask you if I knew you better?
Are you okay?
There you go. Macca, are you okay? Macca, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Macca? No, it's messing with you. Are you okay?
I'm as okay as I can be. Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. And the last question, with this era of, you know, the sponsored team and moving into the Olympics and going to a diversion, like a split in the road of culture and sport, from your perspective, what is the best way that we can move forward in a manner that provides opportunities for those who want to pursue a more sports-driven version of breaking, but to also provide opportunities for those who want to maintain the original culture, the original stories, and the original essence of breaking? What can we do to make sure that those paths can diverge, but at the same time, breaking can still exist?
You know, I honestly continue to say that Olympics is not going to just be the only way, you know. So what we do and what we have been doing is what we will continue to do, you know, and continue to get better at what we have been doing, you know. So there's always going to be the multiple ways of how we can express our love and our relationship with breaking, right? So so for all of it, you know, if we want to open up that road to with the Olympics, you know, for people to be more competitive in a sports in a sports approach within breaking, let's do that. If that's not an essence that we feel like, you know, where we can feel that you know, that culture essence of breaking, you know, the way we want to feel it, let's continue to have our jams, you know. Like, it's not, you know, I just think that it's really not that hard, you know. I think we're making it a lot harder than what it needs to be, you know. So personally, you know, if what I will do, you know, and what I can do, if I'm looking at being a part of the Olympics, you know, I'm going to bring the essence that's within me to that space, you know. If I'm not succeeding in that space, I will make the decision, or if it's not what I really want, I will make the decision of not being in that space, you know. So, and I will make the decision to continue being in the spaces that are still provided, you know, through the jams, through the events that we have, you know, that we've been having, and that we will continue to have outside of the Olympics, you know. So I really just believe it's just continuing on with what we had make it better, of course, you know, to make it better, to make it a better version of what we had, you know, in terms of still having that cultural feel, in terms of still having that essence that we love within breaking, you know. So it's not an either or, it's a both, you know, it's and, you know, and I think we need to really focus on that.
So there you have it. Bgirl Macca, Guerrilla Tactics, Monster Energy Breakers, one of the illest out of Philly, now residing in Atlanta, right?
In Atlanta. I was born in Atlanta. I grew up in Germany and Philly, so yeah.
Oh, no doubt. Well, again, thank you so very much for your time. We've been really looking forward to this interview, and it played out just as dope as I thought it was going to be when I was thinking about it. So I thank you for bringing your energy, your intellect to the conversation, and hopefully we'll be able, you know, when the world gets back together and I'm going to these jams, maybe I'll catch you at a jam.
Yes.
And we'll share a cipher. But I'm older than you, so don't be trying to clown me out there. Come on.
I ain't gonna clown. We sharing a cipher. We're gonna be on that level of sharing a cipher. I'm gonna appreciate what you do. You're gonna appreciate what I do. We gonna connect that way.
Word. Well, thank you. Y'all heard it. Now, if y'all see I'm gonna release the footage. If y'all see her clowning me, call her out. But on that note, thanks again, and peace.
Thank you, Chris. Peace.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section, and to make sure that you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace until the next episode.